It's not a competition, because that would indicate the competitors are equal.
Whoa, Glinda. I'm starting to think you're an actual witch because you just burned him.
See, Tony gets it.
Usually, you buy a race car and race team, then have someone else do the driving while you stay safe.
Safety's overrated. I say live on the wild side with the wild car.
She's really freaking out.
You can't blame her. Tony's entering a competition that he has no place in.
What's the big deal? They're just driving.
At very high speeds, Miss Jiaolong. I believe you're underestimating just how hard it is to turn and react to oncoming threats at such speeds. One wrong move, even simply turning the wheel too far at a certain time, could lead you to a crash that you may not walk away from.
Oh, please! What could Happy possibly do in this type of situation?
Now, Weiss, I'm sure Happy will prove himself very useful. He may not be the most open, but he certainly is loyal to Tony.
Oh, my dust. Nobody cares. She ain't here to talk about your one-sided bromance with Tony. She's here to hear about your contract, which apparently you don't even have anymore.
I never thought this phrase would leave my mouth, but thank you, Crow.
I almost feel bad for Christine right now. We were lucky enough to cut away for a bit. She had to sit there and hear all of his ramblings.
He isn't very observant. She's clearly trying to get away from him. Some people just can't take a hint.
Ignoring how pathetic it is he's bribing her to stay, caviar is quite a decent option.
Is it really that good?
It's a very unique experience, the texture much more than the taste. It's quite the sensation when you eat it.
Is he insane?
Probably.
Well, when the only thing you have left to live for is to kill Tony Stark, I guess you don't really care.
Oh, my
Those whips are deadly.
They're so cool, but they're being used for bad things. But they're so cool. Slow down, Tony!
He can't! He's going too fast to come to a sudden stop.
There's nothing he can do.
The car's leaking fluid! If there's a spark or anything, that car's going up in flames, and Tony might go with it.
Happy is driving very unsafely. He's likely to crash into oncoming drivers if he doesn't pay full attention.
Why are they still driving?
They're likely only focused on the road in front of them, Ms. Goodwitch. They're driving too fast to be able to look around and see what's happening. They likely won't even realize until they reach Whiplash and get sliced in half.
All of the men in the room let out a gasp of shock and horror, quickly crossing their legs. Heck, even the host himself cringed at this, despite watching the movie many times before.
That was way too close.
Agreed.
Luckily, we women don't have to worry about such injuries.
Everyone has a weak spot, Weiss. And besides, a hit to our breasts is essentially the same.
Hearing this, the girls with larger assets covered them nervously.
Risky but clever.
Indeed. Let this be a lesson, students. Always be aware of your surroundings. You may find an advantage that could be your saving grace.
Yeah, it really got Tony out of a hot spot.
Oh man, she's pissed.
I can understand her anger here.
If Ozpin ever tried something reckless, she'd probably kill him and his next host. Weiss glares at RWBY.
You will never attempt anything reckless, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
If I didn't know any better, I think I'd be watching a parody of a movie.
This is getting silly at this point.
At least it's bringing down the tension a bit.
It's a portable Iron Man suit Tony can bring anywhere.
Compacting the entire suit into the size of a briefcase. Incredible.
If we could mass produce these, the Grimm would be an absolute non-issue.
I feel like you guys are missing the point of the movie. It's supposed to point out how mass-producing Iron Man would be a disaster.
As a thank you, Gian reached up and scratched the cat Faunus's ear for saving him the long explanation.
It can even deflect Iron Man's lasers?
We knew the arc reactor supplies incredible amounts of energy, so more energy is coursing through those whips than what powers Atlas, but that's unreal.
And he's damaging the suit. It can't be made out of the same stuff.
This is really cool, but very scary.
Genius. Tony's wrapping the whip around himself to both essentially disarm Ivan of a whip, but also close the distance so he can reach him, since long range was Ivan's greatest area of effectiveness.
It's risky, but it's clearly effective. Tony truly is incredible.
What do you mean? You lost the fight.
He must have some other plan, or he knows something we don't if he's gloating.
What is he smiling about? All of that was a disaster.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Maybe he's just happy that Tony got knocked down a peg. I mean, sure he won, because he thought no one could take him on. But someone just did.
I sincerely hope that is the case, Ms. Rose. But I fear there's a more sinister plan behind that smile.
Tony can speak French?
He can speak a lot of different languages.
Impressive. I wish I knew all these languages so that I could understand them better.
That's what subtitles are for, kid.
That's not a lot of time.
It's the standard for most interrogations.
I just hope I never wind up in one of those creepy interrogation rooms again.
You probably killed at least 2 or 3 other car drivers.
Yeah, don't be a hippo.
I think you mean hypocrite, Nora.
We knew from the beginning there was some history between those two's fathers, but what could it have been for them to be so hostile towards the Stark name?
alive because he's a genius. You had blueprints to make your reactor, and it's still not as good as the one Tony made from scraps, from memory.
Still, I'm guessing Anton helped make those blueprints, maybe even the first arc reactor. So he's part of the reason Tony's alive? It's strange to think of what we have some people to thank for.
He wants to make Tony seem insignificant to the people.
Yeah, it was like after the breach. People almost stopped thinking we were capable of saving them.
But we still saved them, and Tony still stopped Ivan. So there's no reason not to believe in us and for the people not to believe in Tony. Right?
I suppose it just shows no one can prepare for everything, Ms. Rose. And while Stark was able to prevail this time, his beliefs that he's prepared for anything is a dangerous way of thinking. Because clearly, he isn't.
He knows?
He is well-knowledged in the materials and components of the arc reactor and what it must be doing to Tony's body.
So he knows one of Tony's biggest vulnerabilities. That's concerning.
Wipe that smug grin off your face, jackass.
Crow looks at Winter.
He's starting to remind me of your old man.
I hate it, but I have to agree. My father would take any chance he had to be petty and rub something like this in the face of someone who humiliated him like Tony.
That was barely half a suit. It was a chess piece with some fancy whips. A good sniper like RWBY could have taken Ivan out with a single shot. Easy. That suit's got nothing on Tony's. Besides, it was one guy who knew how to make that, and now he's in prison where he'll never make anything like that again.
We know that, Yang, but they don't. But even then, he's not wrong. Tony said no one else could have tech like the arc reactor and Iron Man's suit, but someone did. And almost beat Tony.
Oh, gross.
That meat appears to be highly undercooked. In its current state, it would not pass for edible.
Clearly he's a genius in everything but cooking.
Even Salem was a better cook.
Despite living well over 2 lifetimes, by the time Ozpin rejoined her, one thing he can say for certain he didn't love about her before they went to war with each other was her cooking.
Come on, tell her the truth, Tony.
She deserves to know.
I hope she can handle it.
You're unhealthy, buddy. You know it. She needs to know it now.
I'm guessing that was the reason behind his hesitation before he said it.
Once again, Father would always do this, often at the worst times.
Indeed. I remember the shtick following a news report about when he took a leave after the execution of a board member.
Why can't he just spit it out?
It's likely he doesn't want to make her worry. You saw how panicked she became when he entered the race.
But it will feel even worse when she finds him dead in his bedroom one morning.
What's so special about the potatoes?
Maybe they're the best part of the meal?
Blake, however, who had seen similar tricks working with Adam to free imprisoned Faunus and White Fang members, widened her eyes in horror.
No, it's a note to help him escape.
It's a bomb!
I knew it. That's why Hammer was smiling before. He saw that this guy can make suits that can rival Tony's. He wants that kind of tech for himself. So he needs Ivan.
Why does that other guy have the same number?
The bomb will destroy the cell and anyone inside. They'll believe it's Ivan, since he's wearing the same number. So no one will actually know Ivan escaped.
A shame. A man simply trying to do his duty, killed for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Hammer has to pay for this. He's aiding and abetting a known terrorist, as well as conspiring to break a known terrorist out of prison. Even in your world, that must be treason.
It is.
It's atrocious when someone allows their greed to consume them to the point they'd release a dangerous murderer and endanger their fellow men.
No, now he's free!
Well, not quite yet, but we know for a fact who he's being delivered to.
Hammer, that bastard! He saw this guy trying to kill Tony, almost killing innocent people, and he wants to make profit off the guy!
I want to break both of their legs!
We knew he was willing to cut corners on safety procedures, but to think he'd go as far as to hire a criminal he knows for a fact is dangerous.
That man is just as foolish and underhanded as Arthur Watts.
And with Mr. Hammer's money and resources, Mr. Vanko will be far more dangerous than he was in this encounter with Mr. Stark.
And Tony barely won this time.
Tony's gonna have to be a lot smarter to beat him in the next round.
And that's if there even is a next time, considering the poison.
All solid points. I like where you guys are going with your thoughts here.
Agreed. You're showing good initiative and consideration for the future, students. Well done.
Still, I think we are all more than ready to continue, Gian.